State of the Nation with Zororo Makamba.
Confused about the changes going on in the economy? Don't worry, you're not alone. There are big changes all around us right now. A lot is happening. A new policy here, a new announcement there. It's kind of easy to lose track of what's really happening and why it's happening. It does look like it's a lot to take in, all at once. But let's just try to go through this together, because this is the state of the nation. First, we have to look back at the big picture. So we have to take a step back, a little bit. Let's start in 2008. That's one year we'd all like to forget. Empty shelves and food shortages. Our currency collapsed. In February 2009, we switched to the US dollar. This made sense. It was like taking a timeout in a game. We needed that break. We were not the first country to adopt the US dollar. Ecuador did it in 2000, El Salvador in 2001. A few other countries did the same too. But there's a good side and a bad side to everything. There were things that were good about adopting the dollar, but there was stuff that was bad about it. On the good side, inflation came down. But there were also some bad things. We're an exporting country, so here's the problem. Because we were using a strong currency, the goods that we sell to other countries are more expensive. This is what the president meant when he said that our currency is too strong compared to the region. He said it's actually not a good thing. Let's put it this way. A supermarket in the UK wants to buy tea from Africa. They have two choices: buy from Zimbabwe or buy from Malawi. Now Zimbabwe uses the US dollar. Malawi uses the Malawian kwacha. But Zimbabwe uses the US dollar, a stronger currency than the kwacha. This means that the supermarket is going to need more US dollars to buy our tea. They need less US dollars to buy tea from Malawi. So what do? They just go with Malawi. Why? It's not because their tea is better, no. We know ours is. It's just that Malawian tea is cheaper. So the tea processor in Zim is getting less business than the tea processor in Malawi. Remember Ecuador, the other country that adopted the dollar? They have the same problem. This year, they had to run to the IMF for money because their exports are falling. In fact, the former president of that country said that dollarization had been a bad idea. It was great for a while, but not in the long term. Here's some numbers for you. There's this thing that they call capacity utilization. It basically tells us how much of your factory is productive. So in 2012, capacity utilization fell to just 44%. In 2013, it fell even more, to 39%. It kept falling and falling. So the government had to ban some imports to save our industries. Now we learned a lesson here. You can't do much if you're using a currency you don't control. This is why workers started towards making sure we have our own currency. Now it's not an easy road to get there. It'll take a lot of pain. Zimbabweans are already going through a lot. But when Mthuli Ncube was appointed as finance minister, he launched what he called the Transitional Stabilization Program. One of the big ideas of that plan is to work towards having our own currency. Now to do that, we had to face a few hard realities. So here's what he's done. In October, he separates the RTGS dollars from USD. In February of this year, we get rid of the 1-to-1 exchange rate. A lot of people were taking advantage of this rate to manipulate the market. Now we have the interbank market, where companies can buy and sell forex to each other. They have this in Nigeria. It's working because everybody wants it to work. Now last week, the finance minister made a big announcement. The USD will no longer be allowed to use for local transactions. Why? Let's break this down. In many countries, the US dollar is used only to make foreign payments. In Zimbabwe, it was being used for local transactions. This means there was a lot of demand for US dollar. Now this caused the rate to keep rising and rising. Now because our businesses were pegging their prices against the rate, prices started going up and up and up. A lot of people were taking advantage of this situation. There was a lot of arbitrage. We had relationship managers at banks taking advantage of us. Some were demanding bribes for you to access your own money. We had people playing the market and driving up the forex rates. Now here's an example. I go to a bank. I borrow lots of money at very low interest rates, at 15%. I don't use that money to build my business or to grow crops, no. So what do? I take that money and I buy forex on the black market. The rate goes up, prices go up, and many big corporates have been guilty of this. So what has the RBZ done? They have raised the interest rates. Now if I go to the bank for money, it's because I really need to do something productive with it, not to trade forex. By raising the interest rate, it means there's less money on the market for people to buy forex with. It's basically the opposite of printing money. Is all this unusual? No. If you go to any country, you must change your dollars into the currency of that country. That's how countries make sure their own currencies maintain value. In fact, from this August, the Botswana Revenue Service won't allow you to pay any fees or taxes in Forex. Change the money to Pula, then pay. Now some will be asking, why not go back to full dollarization? Well, before I continue, here's what former Finance Minister Tendai Biti said.
The US dollar is not sustainable for a number of reasons. It's overpriced, so it makes our exports so expensive. It also makes the cost structure of this economy so expensive.
We've already shown you what happens when the dollar stays too long. We've also told you what's been happening in Ecuador. Another thing is this, in 2009 we had a $4 billion economy. We had up to 800 million US dollars in physical cash in circulation. We even got some 500 million from the IMF that year, but we never put in enough controls. So what happened? A lot of money left the system. We have an even bigger economy now, but not enough US dollars. We had 800 million at the start of 2009, and right now, we have just 262 million. Should we be afraid of a repeat of 2008? Of course. But there's a big difference. In 2008, government spending was through the roof. Now, we're not printing any new money, either as bond or RTGS dollars. We've stopped borrowing from the Reserve Bank, and we've cut out a lot of subsidies. So this is where we are. We're on a painful but necessary path of reform. Something has been broken in our economy for far too long. It needs fixing. With so much happening, it's easy to lose focus. It can be hard to remember where we've been and where we want to go. There are no easy solutions. In this environment, there's so much information flying around us. Some of that info is meant to make you afraid. It's meant to make you panic. It's meant to make you lose hope. Some of that information is fake. So let's read more. Listen to other people outside our usual circles, and let's educate each other about what's going on. Each of us has a contribution to make in all our individual and different ways. We can demand a shift in attitudes, for example. We can ask questions. Why is it that medicine costs 80 US dollars in Zim when it's 4 US dollars in SA? Why should those who don't earn US dollars be shut out of their own economy? Why do we treat foreign currencies differently here in Zim? Why are we that country where people peg prices in US dollars? We all can make this work. We've been in a deep hole. Climbing out of it won't be easy, but we can be part of the solution, or we can choose for these reforms to fail. Just so that we can say, I told you so. But here's the reality. If all of this fails, all of us fail. But if these reforms succeed, we all succeed. We have one country, and it belongs to all.